Hello and welcome to Stories from the Red Couch. It is episode 16. I'm Robin Cook and I have my old friend Diane Livingston on the couch with me today. Hello, Di.
Hi, thanks for inviting me to the couch.
It's exciting, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Never done anything like this before.
No. We were just watching a little video before of when we were working in the garden at Chevelham's school.
Yeah.
Did we work out what year that was?
Well, Bronte's was year 5, I think. She's just finished school.
Okay. So it's a few years ago. Yeah.
So 5, 6, 7.
They were fun days in the garden, weren't they?
They were.
Did we have
I loved it.
We had a good time.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And what I loved the most was just seeing the size of the vegetables in that garden were twice the size of what I was growing at home. And to me that is just the children's energy and
I think one of the things that one of the children said to me was that he tried to make a garden at home with his mum and he pretty quickly realised that he didn't have his team there. So he said, but when we're at school doing this, Mum, it takes half the time that it has taken now because I don't have my team with me.
Yeah.
So I think that was one of the really lovely things about it was that as adults we were able to work as a team, but the children were able to work as a team as well.
They loved it, didn't they?
They really did love it. And they all found their little place. And it wasn't always doing what we expected them to do, but it was somewhere doing something.
Yeah. Except for maybe the year 7 girls.
Oh. Do you know, right towards the end, it was quite the last week, and I had all of these lavender cuttings and all of these flower seedlings, and I said, would you like to pot these lavender cuttings up and take them home? They said, can we do that? Is that all right? And I thought, I should have thought months ago about flower cuttings and all of those beautiful things. But what that led into was understanding how to fit something in the garden and the kitchen with their interests. So that was when we started to think about cosmetics and hair conditioners and facial things and what could be grown in the garden.
Yeah, that you could use.
That could you use
cosmetically.
Yeah. Duh.
I know. Oh, well,
it was one of those moments.
You got it.
I got it. Not for those girls though. So what have you been up to lately?
Well, things have changed a lot in my life since those days.
Yeah.
But one of the things I've become very interested in is the body's relationship to emotions and to the soul, and as we go through different phases of our life, how our body reacts and how the stored emotions affect us and how to actually fix it, how to fix it. So as we were sharing on Saturday, I've learnt a modality, you could call it,
What's that
called trauma release exercises, which actually assist the body to release tension in the fascia. So the fascia of the body is the connective tissue that runs over the muscles, and the really exciting thing is that neuroscientists are now finding that it's the fascia is connected to the subconscious. So things we have stored inside of us that we don't even know are there. It's like the information and the stories are running through our bodies, and which makes sense to me because that's why certain therapies like bone therapy and kinesiology and certain myofascial release will bring up big emotions for people. And that's the opportunity to release.
And unexpectedly.
Yeah, because you don't know they're there.
That's right.
So it's really fascinating. I find that fascinating.
So what are you doing with all of these things that you're learning?
Well, one of the things I do is I run a group for tension release exercises, which it's not a hands-on therapy. It's something people can learn to do for themselves. And it's there is a man by the name of David Baselli who got PTSD after working in war zones. He was there as an aid worker, and he got to thinking, or had the question, why were the children tremoring and shaking and the adults not? And that just got him thinking about the tremor mechanism in mammals. And why don't we do it when we're in stress? And so this, through his own healing journey, he developed these exercises, which are really simple, anyone can do them, that triggers that tremor mechanism which we've switched off somewhere along the line. So then you lie on the floor on a mat and just let your body tremor. And it's the fascia that the tremors are moving through, so it's not the muscles, it's this fascial sheath that runs from head to toe, and it moves through. It's like an electrical circuit, so the energy just moves through with the tremors through your body.
That's fascinating. So where are you running these classes?
In Woombye at the little church hall near where I live, on Mondays at 12 o'clock.
Lovely.
And I'm also started at Kanara. They've got the Fresh Holistic Health Centre there.
Ah, yes.
Where there's doctors and psychologists and yoga, and so I've just started. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Yeah. It looks like that's going to continue. I had a little trial period. There, I didn't get a huge response because I didn't really get the word out soon enough. But it's going to continue. Yeah.
Great. So that'll go into 2018.
Yeah.
So those two places, Woombye and Kanara.
Yeah.
And what sort of? Who would go and do that with you?
Well, I think anybody would benefit, to be honest, because I think we all hold stress and tension that we don't even realise we're holding. And then for the people who do realise it, who are going through hard times, or they know that they're stressed, or they've got PTSD, or they've got depression. Because with depression, it's really interesting because it's like a suppression of all emotions where you don't feel anything. So that means that the body's, you've had all these emotions running for a long time, and then you've kept a lid on them all because it's not socially acceptable to be really angry or to be really scared, and you just pretend until you get to a point where you're just depressed and you don't feel a thing anymore. And for me, that happened after I had kids. So I have a special interest in postnatal depression, which I think, there's a fine line between the postnatal depression and PTSD. I think sometimes, so for me, I wasn't depressed as in, not wanting to go anywhere or do anything. I was like hyperactive, but in a state of kind of trauma really. And it was the birthing process that triggered a lot of things in me that I didn't realise were there. And then I didn't know how to cope with it. So 20 years ago, when I had Holly, nobody really understood this. And I did go to people for help, but no one really. I just, just got to get on with it, really. Yeah.
And that's less so now, but it was because I had Lewis 21 years ago, and it was similar. And there was
now I think there's a lot more understanding. There's a lot of psychologists and counsellors who understand what's going on, and
and less stigma about saying it.
Yeah.
Because there is that thing where you kind of think, oh well, I wanted to have this child. I don't really have the right to complain about any of the heartache or the sleep deprivation or the anxiety or any of that goes with it, because it was my choice. So I have to just buck up and
absolutely
move on.
And you think, well, I've got nothing to complain about. We had enough. We had a nice place to live. There was no tragedy or trauma going on.
No.
So you feel like you do not have the right to complain about how you're feeling, and
And maybe we don't see it. Maybe we're seeing it as a complaint. It's not a complaint, is it? We're not complaining. We're just saying, I'm just not dealing with this particularly well. I just need a little bit of help.
Yeah.
It's okay. My world's not falling apart.
Yeah.
But I could do with a little bit of help
Yeah.
here.
And understanding why. Like, that's what I needed. I needed to understand why I was feeling like this. And the other interesting thing for me that I find fascinating is how we inherit emotions from generation to generation. Absolutely. So for me, what really started putting, questions in my mind and started my seeking for answers was that my first child, Holly, was very fearful. She was terrified of the funniest thing, like those little seed pods that float through the air.
Okay.
Fluffy little. She was terrified of them.
Incredible.
And flowers, like certain flowers. And I just couldn't understand why she would be so scared. So it took me quite a few years, poor hole, to work out that it was actually me. Like the suppression that I was suppressing so much that it was getting portrayed through
and
her.
I think that's what happens. I've often referred to, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but I've often referred to Lewis as my crash test dummy. Because that's, you're just finding your way through all of this.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're not really connected to a mother in your own life, which I didn't have a mother when I had the boys. So I guess that there was an element.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. Yeah. Because for us, we moved house, and not only house, but states and towns when the girls were really little. So I had no support network. And that makes it so much harder.
It does.
Because you can't just meet new people and go, help me. I didn't feel like I could anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's a difficult thing. And then you came to Chevelin and
then we came to,
here.
It was good.
And that was good.
Yeah.
It was good. We, I think that as the children grow, we just grow with them, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So what's the mechanism, do you think, that we should have where we've been disconnected from our own elders in making sure that we stay connected to that generation down? Because you've now just learnt so much. How are you going to pass that on?
It's really, it's interesting because I talk to my daughters about this, but of course, unless I've actually changed myself, of course they're not going to take any notice of it. So the greatest thing I think we can do for our kids is to address our own issues and actually change, and then they can see, mum's not so angry anymore, or mum's this or that. Otherwise it's just blah blah. And so I do talk to my kids about things that I haven't actually yet resolved in myself, and they kind of listen, but they don't think it's going to happen to them. But I do think that, because of what I hadn't resolved when I had kids has passed down onto them, that there's going to be times in their lives where these things surface for them. And I sometimes get very panicky about that, and I think, the girls have got to, but it's their lives are going to be.
Maybe the example that we set for them then is an honesty about our lives not being perfect. And we are not necessarily in control. I mean, there is no control.
No.
There's no control. But the lesson might be in how we deal with it. So this is the example we set. Oh, here's something. This is how we deal with it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So just explaining and like you say, being honest. So I tell my kids how hard I found it when they were little, not because of them, but because of me and what the things I hadn't resolved and the life choices. Because we make all these choices in life that put us through more stress than we need to. Sorry, I just scratched the microphone.
That's all right.
Like moving house 3 times when you've got a toddler and a baby. Like, why do you do that?
Why do you do that?
So, we make these choices and not realising how much we're going to put ourselves through.
And that moving is traumatic.
Yeah, it is. Because when you're single and, you know, you've only got you, of course it's not. You just do it. And then you think you can just do the same thing again, but it's so much harder.
So we're pretty well at the end of 2017.
Yep.
What are you going to do over the next couple of weeks? Christmas, New Year, planning?
I haven't really planned a lot. I work as a nurse as well, so I haven't got holidays.
No? Okay.
So I'll be going to work. And
what sort of nursing are you doing?
I'm working in aged care,
Okay.
which once again is really interesting when you observe the
Fascinating.
human who has, you know, held on to their emotional stuff, and that generation didn't have the opportunities that we have.
I know, not
They
at all. I often think about that. I think about my mother who lost a baby when my older sister, when her name was Diane, and she was 9 months old. And I hear the stories, and I kind of get a sense of what it must have been like at that time. And really, you just got on with it. Have another baby, get over it. And she was never really spoken about.
Yeah.
And now we have all manner of support systems in place for people to link in with.
Yeah.
But then there was just
so hard for
nothing.
them. So hard. Yeah.
And then they're old, and you see these behaviours coming out in them as
Absolutely.
old people.
And with dementia, you can't hide anything anymore. No, it all comes out
just
like
laid bare.
Yeah. All the really dark things you try to hide from everybody as you get older, especially if you get dementia.
Isn't that incredible?
It just plays out.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see in aged care in a nursing home with people, what people have held on to. And
so what sort of things help in those situations? So you're in aged care.
look, it's really hard because by the time somebody's got to that age and that state that they're in, you can't change.
No,
they're not
but
going to change. But
there would be. Are there things that you can do that help in the moment?
yes, absolutely. Music's one of them.
Yes.
Music's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So music from the days when they were younger. So if you play that, really settles them down.
What happens though if there was a song that they absolutely hated? I mean, if it was me and someone played "Lovers in the Air," it would drive me insane.
Well, it would probably.
I hope I have the wherewithal to say, "Stop playing that song."
Well, you probably will.
Because I loathe it. My family know that. Yes. And in fact, all you have to do is say something is in the air and bang, I'm singing the song.
So why, Robin?
I don't know. I just loathe it. Anyway, we'll move on from that because I'm singing it now.
But you won't be in a nursing home.
I hope not. Now's the time when we need to be designing that, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
To design what we want as
we get older.
Older people, if we get to that point. And I think that age is a blessing and a curse, really.
Yeah.
Because it really...
But oh my gosh, it's inspired me to stay healthy.
Yes.
It really has. It's not a life.
No, it's not, is it?
It's just limbo. It's really hard. It's really sad to see. It's so sad for the families. Yeah. But they're finding out not only music, but nutrition is huge.
Yes.
And I haven't seen it happen because, of course, you're in a system where funding and, they just have mass-produced meals and everyone gets what they're given and they try to save money. So nutrition isn't great in these places, but I've read and heard a lot of information about nutrition and...
Well, Maggie Beer is a big champion of nutrition in aged care.
Oh,
She's got
is
the
she?
Maggie Beer Foundation,
Okay.
and a massive champion of
Okay.
that. So what Stephanie Alexandra's been doing in primary schools,
Ah.
Maggie's doing in
Oh,
aged care
fantastic.
facilities.
I'll have to look into that.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
on the Gold Coast is an organisation called the Lantern Project, and they are working towards doing the research behind it, so
Great.
that there is the evidence.
Because that's what you need. To embark on something in a system,
Yes,
you need to have it evidence
yes,
based.
yes. So
Yeah.
Cherie Hugo is behind the
Okay.
Lantern Project. She's just finished her PhD in this,
Okay.
and so the information will be available.
Great.
So that's good.
Yeah.
There's a March fly buzzing
Yeah,
us.
there is.
It's summer.
No.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
That's a pleasure. Thank
Yeah,
you.
So nice to catch up on that area of work that you're doing, because I think we could all do with something like that, really.
Yeah, and I mean, it was my kids that, inspired me to go down the path of natural health, because I was a nurse in the system before that. So having children, of course, changes everything.
Yes.
So I'd been on the diet road for quite a while, but then working out the body, like how to work through things with the body and the emotions, has been the last few years.
Fantastic. Thanks, Diane.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you for watching. It's the full glory of summer. It's hot. We've got fans on, so we haven't lit the candles. We did light the candles, but the greenery started to burn, so we had to blow those out. We might try again later when it's cooler. We have got Kari on our next show, and I don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll just talk about all manner of things. Another old friend. So it's lovely to have the opportunity to talk to so many people. We'll see you the next time around. Thanks, Diane.